Hello, everybody. Just gonna give it a minute or two for anyone else who's still keen on joining. Send a hello in the chat so I can see who's watching. All 4 people and my wife. How's it things? Snarchy too. Yes! Thanks for watching, guys. I'm recording this as well so that I can play it back for anyone who's keen to do some photography in the future. Or know some things. I'm just going to wait another 2 minutes, if you don't mind. How's it, Rand? I'm glad you're keen on learning something about photos. Everything is lacquer this side. I think I must start. 3 minutes past 10. Okay. Well, let me change this up and let's get started. Okay. And now let me turn the volume down a bit. Hey, Mary Man. How's it, Taryn? Thanks for joining, guys. I'm just about to start. How's it, Pastor Garth? I can't hide. Okay, let me start. Is the volume of the music too loud? Let me turn it down a bit. I'm concerned you guys can't hear me properly. Anyway. So before I go into what I'm going to be talking about and what I'm doing with this phone photography workshop, I'm just going to just explain who I am and what I do. I know that you guys who are watching now probably know what I do and who I am, but anyway, I'm Matt, and I do all the media, a lot of the media stuff for the Ministry for Heritage of Faith. So if that's developing solutions, tech solutions, and implementing solutions for the ministry, and then like facilitate a lot of the content generation, or for the pastors, and then also facilitate the technology side of a Sunday service, the tech and media side. So camera work, audio for musos, we broadcast audio, broadcast visuals, and all of that stuff on a Sunday. And then during the week it will be any post-production work, recording that we would do in studio, whether it's audio or visuals, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's who I am and what I do. I think when I started in the ministry, which is now like 8 years ago or something along those lines, 2011, I'd taken photos before that, but it wasn't like a focus in my life, I think. And so now, I was just provided the platform to be able to do that. And so thank you, Pastor John and Pastor Sharon, for just providing a space for me to grow in something that I'm really passionate about, which is all things tech, which I find really enjoyable. I enjoy getting into the nitty-gritty and stuff. Like, people don't enjoy reading instruction manuals and stuff like that, and I think for me that's actually fairly enjoyable. And so let me put this up. And so for me, I think that's it's been a great platform for me to grow and develop. And photography is one of the things that I really enjoy. I really enjoy the idea of capturing moments in time, and I'm going to get into that a bit later. And so that's me and where my passion for photography comes in. You won't, like, if we're out and about doing things or whatever the case may be, whether it's my phone or a real camera, you won't find me too often without it in my hand, ready to snap a shot. And so now that I've got through that, I just want to chat what I'm going to be doing with these workshops. It's going to be a series. I think it's going to be a few episodes long, probably 3, 4, 5 maybe, of like 20 to 30 minutes each. And I want this to just, my idea, the idea I have in my head is to just have this as an open conversation about photography. I don't want it to be a one-way conversation. It would be cool if we could have a conversation together. I mean, I know it's just me sitting here chatting to really my computer screen and my webcam at the top there, which, to be honest, makes this a little bit easier for me. I'm maybe not the most comfortable in front of a camera, so there's not really anyone else in the room except for my wife sitting on the left. But I mean, if you guys, I would really like for this to be a two-way conversation. So if you guys want to reach out to me in the chat, like you have been chatting to me now, please do. It would be cool to see your comments, to see you guys interacting with the stream, and to ask questions. I really want to encourage. Meredith says hi. I really want to like have this be a conversation. I really want to have the platform where you guys can ask things that maybe you don't know, maybe you've always wondered these things about photography and all the things surrounding photography. And so we can chat about those things. How's it, Pastor Garth? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. So yeah, I think that is just some things I wanted to say about these courses. So yeah, I mean, I don't know when we're going to do the second one yet. I think maybe we must chat about it and chat about when a cool time will be for you guys to join and learn more. But yeah, let's see at the end what you guys say. Okay, so the goals, of by the end of this, my desire is for you guys to have a better understanding of photography as a whole, as a principle, and good morning, Pastor John. Thank you for joining in. Yeah, my goals are to help you guys have a better understanding of photography as a whole and what photography is and why we take photographs. Today I'm gonna talk about why we take photographs. And so I'm gonna show you some photos. I'm gonna show you some videos this morning, just a couple of things, and we're gonna chat about those things afterwards. But yeah, photography for me is just visual storytelling. I'm gonna get deeper into that a bit later, but my goal is, if you think about when you were in school, primary school, whatever the case may be, you had to do exam essays and so on, like English essays for exams, and the essays you would have done would have been the way you wrote the story was probably quite elementary, I would say, yeah. And so by the time you got, this was in primary school, by the time you got to high school, your writing ability had developed a bit, and you were writing stuff that was maybe a little bit more engaging with someone who was reading. And then by the time you're 20, in your late 20s, you're writing significantly better. Maybe some people's writing ability, my writing ability is not the best in the world, but essentially photography runs in parallel to that. It's just a visual component of telling a story with words, and so photography does that visually. And so I'm not trying to get the people who are going to watch this, whether it's now or in the future, I'm not trying to turn you into a pro photographer, because there would be talent involved, number one, and it would take a lot of time. But my goal is to get you to be a better storyteller, visually speaking. So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. I think what I'm going to do now is just show you some things that are possible with phones. The brand of the phone is not particular here, but our phone is the best. But yeah, I'm just going to show you what's possible with a phone camera, and then eventually we're going to, in the next session or whatever the case may be, we'll get into the practical components of taking a photograph. But it's so important for me on why we take photos before we actually even get into how to take photos, because if you don't know why, the how, it gets a little bit blurry. You're not framing correctly or whatever the case may be. And so let's go. You're not going to see my face now. I'm going to show you some videos, so just give me a sec. So turn the music off. Okay, so those two videos were shot. Those two videos were shot on iPhones, or phones. I mean, I think if you were skilled enough, you could probably take the same photos irrespective of the brand. But yeah, I just wanted to show you those photos quickly. Those videos of what people were able to put together with a phone. I mean, obviously there's a lot of post-production components that are taking place there, but that's not the point. The fact is, like, visually it's engaging and you're able to watch it. So I'm just going to show you actually some photos taken with phones now. And so I'm going to take my face off and you'll just see the photos and I'll just talk you through them. Okay, so this is the first one. It looks like it's in the desert somewhere. I actually think this is a Burning Man in the USA, in the desert. Okay, next. Remember, these are all taken on a phone. Okay. Super creative. I don't even know where this is, but anyway, so these ones were taken by I don't know the people. I probably should have credited them at the bottom, but anyway. And then the next bunch were taken by me, just to show you what. And these were all taken on my phone, just to show you what's capable. So on the left, actually both of these photos were taken in Spain. They were having some festival there, and they're building human towers on the left, and then you can just see the cool contrast of books in a busy city way. This one in particular was on a bike trip we did up to Sabi. The rose is just a nice close-up to see, and these two are just self-explanatory. I'm going to come back to these just now, maybe. Yeah, so let me just put my face on. So yeah, as I was explaining earlier, these are like the 5 components that we're going to touch on, not today, because I don't want to make this too long. But first and foremost is like, what is photography and why do we take photos? Different elements of photography, what we need to take a photo, so the different components needed. So like in our case, in this instance, it's going to be a cell phone. In other instances, it will be like a big camera with a lens or whatever. And then actually taking the photograph, and then what happens after you take the photograph, which is a big subject all on its own. So yeah, let's get into what photography is quickly. So in my notes here, I have got what is photography? It's the silent language. And I've written here the silent universal language, because we can all speak the same language with our eyes, which is seeing things. And so, yeah, that's, for me, if I were to summarize what you're trying to do when you're taking a photograph, it's you're trying to speak a language to someone with, which they read with their eyes. So at any point in time, like if we're at an event or whatever, we're having an experience, we're traveling, we're out in the bush, we're at a sports event, whatever the case may be, we are experiencing stuff. And so those are like, the experience of those things are, for the most part, they're like emotions and thoughts and stuff that happens in you. Whatever that is, it could be happy, it could be sad, It could be excited. It could be contentment, whatever that is. I mean, I've got photos that explain those emotions, and I'll show you as we go along in the future. But those are emotions that you experience, and so the purpose of photography for us is to retell that experience that we had in that moment. It's not to technically speaking show what I was capable of doing with my 150,000 rand or dollars worth of gear. It's to just retell a story. And so the picture that I've actually got on here, that picture tells a story, and so that's, for me, that's the purpose of photography, is to retell those experiences that I had in that moment to the person that I'm going to be sharing that image or that moment of time with. Like a photograph is for me, it's like a window into the past, but it's a very vivid window. It's like when you look through that window, you're able to almost halfway get through the window back into that period of time. Maybe not completely, but you're definitely able to smell the air, if I can put it like that, through the window of what's happening on that back in time. And so when I have these thought processes in my head when I'm taking a photograph of like, what is the story here? What am I trying to tell? What am I trying to tell to the people? Even if it's just for me, what am I trying to remind myself, my future self, what I'm taking a picture of it? What is the story here? And that is like a base question for me when you're taking photographs, is like, what is that purpose that you're actually pushing the button? Because these days, like with our phones, I mean, with my phone here, I can just push this button and you can see it just goes. I mean, we can just push the button 3 million times until your phone runs out of space, and then you can. What have you got? You just got you guess you've got a video. This is one thing, I guess, but I would say it might be better to have one photograph that one or few photographs that accurately remind you of that moment, rather than snapping away at 1,000 photographs to try and, I would say in this place, quality trumps quantity. I mean, I think there's a space to take a lot of photographs. For example, if you're standing at a sports field, or if you're shooting wildlife, for example, for sure you're going to stand and go with the phone or with your camera, or whatever the case may be, because you're not wanting to miss on the action. But again, that's like you're trying, because the stuff is moving fast, it requires you to be fast on the trigger. But the same principle applies, is that there's still only if you were taking photos of a rugby game, for example, or cricket game or football game or whatever, you're going to wait for there to be a moment of action on the field, because that tells a story of what was happening in that game. So that's, for me, that's the underlying principle of photography, is like, what is the purpose? And I know I'm hopping on about this, but I'm trying to drive it home, because it's like imperative to catch. And so I think if we can keep those with those things, all that with what I've said now, if we're able to keep those things in mind, the gear, the conversation about gear and tech specs and all of those things becomes a little less important, because it's so easy to get caught up in those things, which, fair enough, like, the development of technology enables you to capture the moment better. I don't deny that, but I think if we come back to like first principles, the reality of it is that gear is not the conversation here. Like, photography is telling a story, irrespective of what you're taking a photograph of, and that will be determinant of what we need to actually take the photograph. I mean, I have a camera, I have lenses, and I have access to big cameras, and I have access to big lenses, and I use them because if we're using photographs that are going for print media or like social media or whatever the case may be, then sure, you need that kind of gear assists you and enables you to have more things within your control to take a photo. But the level of understanding that you need to have and the things that go with that to know how to use it just takes long, and so on. And so, I mean, we all have access to this thing in our pocket. And as I was showing you, I mean, we can these photographs here these photographs here are like, they tell a story. You can feel the moment, and yeah, for me, that's thought about when you take those photos. The photograph on the left, you can see all the people. Like, I remember very clearly when I was watching this moment, it was hustling and bustling. There was so many people around, and it was just fascinating to see these people doing this. And if you look at this photograph, you can almost feel that. The placement of the flags at the top, in front of an old building, that's purposeful, and that's part of the storytelling. On the right hand side, the books on the left hand side of the right hand side photo. When you're reading, it's quiet. It's you're in a quiet space when you're reading. And then on the right hand side of the photograph, we have the hustling, bustling streets, and so there's contrast. And so that's like, when I saw that scene, it sparked that thought, and so there's a story there. And so I'm trying to retell those experiences that I have there. And so anyone can do this. I mean, it's just having an understanding when you're taking a photo to not just pick it up and take 10,000 photographs. It's like, rather, instead of taking 10 minutes to snap 10,000 photographs, why don't you take like 7 minutes to think about the next 10 photographs you're going to take? And so you'll like have a better I think you'll get more photos out of the 30 than you would have gotten out of the 1,000, in my opinion. And so I'm actually going to stop here, and I'm going to like maybe just give you guys like a minute or two to ask questions, because I see I'm like just on 30 minutes now, and I don't want to go for too long. And I also want you back next time. So next time, I'm actually going to teach you like what we can do, like from a technical point of view, to take the photographs, to take a better photographs, and how we can do that, and what we need to do that. And so I'm going to touch on those things. Next time. So yeah, I'm going to put this on the screen. There we go. And yeah, if you have questions, I'm going to have a minute, and then I'm going to stop. Okay, that's a good one, Baines. The limitations. Well, surprisingly, they're not huge at the moment, because like phones are getting a lot better. I mean, and you'll see as I go further on, you'll have an understanding of what the limitations are. But for example, we don't have big lenses on these phones. So if you're wanting to zoom with a phone, apart from it being like I know some phones these days have 2x zoom. Now, if you want to go further than that, you just have to walk closer to the subject. So that would be the first limitation. And then the second limitation, and there's a lot of them, but I mean, they're not game stoppers. They're not showstoppers. I mean, the other, I guess, the limitation is if you're taking a picture of a bird in the bush at 100 meters away, and you have a big camera with a lens this big, you know, that you can do that. But with a phone, yeah, no, that's not going to work. So that's a big limitation for phones at the moment. But apart from that, it's not huge. I mean, like DSLR cameras have big sensors on them to allow more light sensitivity, but phone tech is doing some cool stuff where it takes like 3 photos, one long one, a normal one, and then one short one, and then it combines the 3. It's called HDR. It combines the 3 and creates like a well-balanced photograph in terms of the light it's allowing into the sensor. So that's like they're even starting to do away with that. Yeah. I mean, as I go and I explain to you what we can do with phones, you'll learn quite quickly, like, I can't blame my phone for there being a bad photo anymore. Because actually, yeah, for the most case, you can take, I mean, this picture here, let me put this one on, with my bike, I mean, the mountains in the background are clear, you know, you can see everything you need to see. They're sharp, they're in focus. Mind you, this is just, bear in mind, this is on a big screen. You're not looking at this photo on like a small screen. You're able to look at this photo in fairly decent resolution, you know, and good quality on a screen. That is, if you're on your laptop or if you're on your iPad, that's quite big, you know. And I think we could get this photo really big before we start actually losing quality. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? I'm just going to give it a minute. I mean, I think this course is going to be, like, this little first session is going to be available for people to rewatch at some point, so they can do that. And I hope that answered your question a bit, Vince. Light and mood. I'm gonna, Pastor John, I'm gonna get into like the components of when to take a photograph, like what you're trying to convey through that photograph and how to best do it as we go along. But obviously light in photography is a huge, it's everything. I mean, if without light you're not going to take photos, because I mean the way light works in terms of photography, or even your eyes, I mean, like if you're looking at a plant, that plant's not actually emitting any light. It's the reflection of the sun off that surface and the pigments what are on there, and how your eyes are absorbing that is determining like how light interacts with a camera. And so that the reason I'm saying that is because that's everything. Photography is everything light. And so there's certain times of the day that are better to take photographs, and I'm sure you've all heard of golden hour, which is in the morning or in the late afternoon, early like sunrise, sunset times, and or indoors and outdoors, and light often will play a significant component of how you're trying to convey the mood of a photograph. So yeah, I'm going to get into the technical things there as we go along. I mean, I can show you here actually. I'll put this one up. Okay, hold on. So on the photograph on the right, like you can see, the light has like obviously that's late afternoon, and it's definitely giving off a certain type of mood. I mean, you will have seen in those videos that like that one in the, I think it's like somewhere in the US, that was shot like an afternoon and stuff. How's it, Dad? So Ryan asks, when would you say a person? Okay, when is a phone becoming a limitation, and need to switch to a camera? Well, I think there's some instances like if you're going to pro levels of photography, then sure you're gonna want to have gear to like support you in that. So you're not gonna want to have like a phone on the side of a rugby field if you're trying to shoot professional sportsmen for newspapers and magazines. That's obviously not appropriate. Um, and yeah, if you're out in the bush and you're trying to take pictures of birds and wildlife, that's obviously a limitation. But for the general public, there's a conversation that has to be had about like what do we actually do with our photographs after we take them. So many times these photographs sit on our phone, and the only time you look at them, you personally only look at them again is like maybe once a year, and so maybe you might share them, maybe, and then that's it. They're like gone into space, forgotten about it. Cheers. But that's that's like a bit of a return on investment for me. Is like if you're spending all this bucks on gear, and some people you're taking these photographs in like a special format that's only readable by a computer, like hardly even with the phone. Then you can't even relook at the phone. You don't even relook at the photo again once. You just take the photo for the fact of taking a photo. And that's cool. If you just like to push a button on the camera and take the photo without looking at it again, and that's your decision, that's cool. But with a phone, it allows us access to the photographs, and for the most part, you can print photographs really big, like big size, like A3, A2, with your cell phone. Okay, and before you start losing quality, these are cell phone images. So for the most part, you can get really far. For the general person, you can get really far with a cell phone. But the limits of a cell phone is like what I was mentioning to phones. You can't zoom. Okay, so I'm not particularly sure when you guys want to pick this up again, if you want to join in again, because I want to get into the tech stuff. But yeah, I'm sure we'll let you know at some point. But thanks for joining in today. I appreciate you guys watching me talk about something I'm passionate about, and me teaching you guys helps me to grow and get better at taking photographs. I noticed with some phone cameras you can, and they have optical zoom, and some is like 2 times, 10 times. Those are the high end ones, but for the general person, maybe you'll have to just zoom with your feet, which isn't an issue. I mean, unless you're in the Kruger Park and you can't move, then please don't zoom with your feet. Okay, that's that. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.